I'm going to do a countdown again.
Go for it.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to a workshop. It's another performing workshop with me, Luke Burridge. Also, Juliana is joining me. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
And last month, we did a workshop which Juliana joined in with, and other people joined in with, asking questions on a Zoom chat, a Zoom call. And in that, we discussed what don't worry about that. What Anthony Gatto did in his act, comparing it to what Willie Colombiano did in his act, comparing the two, see which one did something better, see which one did worse. Okay.
Yeah.
Who thought through what was going on stage as they were performing? Yeah.
Getting through to the essence of performing
Yeah.
juggling, not only coming up and
Not just doing the juggling, but
juggling.
why are you performing something and all that kind of stuff. Really great workshop, lots of good feedback. And one person said, oh, what I've wanted to do is actually do like a director's commentary on one of my own performances, one of my own acts, to see, like, to kind of go into that much detail about one of my own acts. Now, I've done that before with my 3-ball and video routine, where I actually talked through, it was a whole video essay that I did about the history of 3-ball and juggling, pretty much talking about that. Why did I do the routine? Why was I picking these things? Why did I choose that music? Why did it, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I thought I'd do it again now with one of my routines, which is very, very heavily influenced by Anthony Gatto's ring juggling routine and other circus juggling routines. And we're going to talk through my ring juggling routine.
Cool.
And
Let's do it.
you're going to be asking questions. You're also going to be looking at the live chat to see if anybody else has any questions there.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm just going to go through, and I have here on my captured screen, I've got these various different videos from times I performed it. I've also got Anthony Gatto's video here, and some other videos which I can use as demonstrations of why I do stuff on stage. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at my ring juggling routine. And my ring juggling routine is something that I choreographed in 2010, I guess, early 2010 was when I was working on this most. And this was after I'd already done the workshop that I did previously, the workshop where I was comparing Anthony Gatto's routine.
Yeah.
You know, I was already looking at that and going, what's Anthony Gatto doing here in his juggling act, which I can do? Or what lessons can I learn from Anthony Gatto?
Okay.
Because if you're going to learn from a great juggler or a great performer, why not learn from Anthony Gatto?
Yes.
So that's what this routine is, and so that's this thing here that I have. I hopefully, people can see my mouse. So here is that routine that I actually put, is a video from 2010. So we're going to be looking at one of the first video recorded versions of this. I also have another one here from 2016, which I performed in the living room at home, which is important, and I'll get onto that why in a minute. I've got a low ceiling version, which is also from 2010. I've got a version that I did at a juggling convention in 2018, in the Russian juggling convention. And like I say, then I've got some other videos which I'm going to use as some examples as we go through this. But what we're going to do is, first of all, I want to talk just about sort of the setup of this routine and why I did it. First of all, me and Pola had a juggling act called The Art of Juggling. And when we performed on cruise ships, the whole show would go like this. It would go me doing a Diablo routine, then a 3-ball and video routine, then a 5-ball routine where I do audience interaction. And then would come The Art of Juggling, which was balls, clubs, rings with live performance painting. And then after that, knife juggling on the roller bowler with Pola helping me out there as well. Pola no longer performed with me on cruise ships because she didn't like the traveling and was wanting to get her own career doing artwork, like back on track as well. So I had to do my show without the main part of that show. And so what I did, I pretty much did. What's that?
What was the time frame that then fell out the show?
About 10 minutes. I needed to fill about 10 minutes. Which doesn't mean a 10-minute juggling routine, because you've got to build stuff up, you've got to take stuff down, you've got to work all that kind of stuff out. But yeah, I needed about 10 minutes worth of material to fit in that section of the show. And for a while, I just did what I called my tempo juggling routine. It's just a classic routine. I did some ring juggling, then some ball juggling, and then some club juggling, and that was it. But it didn't really feel significant enough, like The Art of Juggling, which was the gig that pretty much got us the gigs when we're working on cruise ships. Because as the agent called me up and said, "Oh, I got this promo stuff and this recommendation. You got this. What kind of thing will you do in my show?" I was like, "Oh, I normally do some Diablo and this." He's like, "Wait a sec, you're going to do The Art of Juggling?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Right, great. You're booked on the Queen Mary 2 next week," or whatever it was. It was pretty much that kind of thing, because they wanted that. They wanted that kind of classic routine, like a fun routine, but with a strong concept of it. So, and I realized that my tempo juggling routine, which is just, rings, balls, clubs, was just a very standard, fine routine, but there wasn't anything more to it than just some difficult juggling.
Yeah.
I'd already done some ball juggling, and I was going to follow up the club juggling with knife juggling. And I was
Yeah.
like, following up knife juggling, even if it's on a roller bowler, still you're just doing 3 objects. And if I'd just done 6 clubs on stage, I was like, following 6 clubs on stage with 3 knives, people were like, those 3 knives look suspiciously like those clubs that he just juggled, but like way, way easier.
And fewer.
And fewer. A few of them. So yeah, so I realized what I need to do is a ring routine, and I really enjoy ring juggling. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's it. I wanted a ring routine which would fit in my longer show. Of course, I also wanted to be able to perform it for jugglers at juggling conventions and otherwise. So it had to work as a standalone act. And also because of that, I didn't want it to be talking because it followed up. I didn't want there to be lots of talking in the routine.
Yeah.
Because it followed a part in my show where it's not that I do a lot of talking, but the 5-ball routine, it's based on me talking to the audience.
And the comedy.
And the comedy of audience interaction.
Yeah.
And I wanted a hard break from that I can go, right, silly stuff out the way, no jokes for a while, just interesting, fun, entertaining, clever juggling, difficult juggling as well. And then I followed it up with, if I do a knife juggling routine, again, then I'll do some talking and it's more building up, so I didn't want any of that kind of stuff. I didn't want any spoken words within the routine itself.
Right.
So yeah, let's just start off. So
Shall we watch it?
well, I guess we can watch it, but there's an introduction that I always do, which puts this in context within the show. Also, I have when I do it in the show, for example, when I did it here at the Russian juggling convention, the person introducing me on stage actually says, I don't know if you can hear it or see him, but he actually says what I'm going to be doing on stage. And the idea being is juggling. I'm going to juggle. Well, actually, pretty much the introduction that I wrote was saying, unlike a ball, which is just a point moving in space, a juggling ring is unique in that it can twist and turn and flip in all 3 dimensions. And I'm going to add another dimension to my ring juggling, and that's the dimension of color. So watch closely as I juggle these 3 white rings. And that's the setup, because it's about flipping and turning. Because, to be honest, what I'd come up with, which will be revealed in a minute, is that even though I say, watch closely as I juggle these 3 white rings, you have to keep that in mind because people don't know I'm going to be juggling color-changing rings. So that's one of the things. So let's
you come on stage and the audience can see you with white rings.
Yeah, the white rings. So let's just get into this. Let's just watch a bit of this. I think, our video here, we're not too much in the way. So let's just press play and see what happens here. Okay, don't worry too much about the music. I'll talk about the music later, but everything is very tightly choreographed to the music. All right, so straight away, you may think, what you got to talk about there. What I do is I establish, which is pretty tricky because I'm going to be juggling 1 ring for a while, but I establish that there's going to be 3 rings in a minute. And the way that I do that is actually just by counting them off. And it's just a way for me to make sure, I know this sounds weird, it's a way for me to make sure that I have the right number of rings in my hand as well. Because if there's one thing that you can very easily do is pick up the wrong number of rings.
Has it happened?
Yes, it has happened.
And what do you do then?
I just have to go back over here to the prop stand and put them back. So I've actually got 7 rings here. So there's going to be 7 rings, and there's actually 7 rings there. And having 7 rings on the case is actually very important for technical reasons, which I'll talk about later.
Could you try and slow down with talking a bit?
Slow down with talking?
Yeah.
Am I talking too quickly?
You want to have people watch this later.
Okay. By the way, people watching, if you've got any questions about anything, Juliana's keeping an eye on the chat, so we'll see it. So what I do here is, like I say, I go 1, 2, 3, and that established 3-ring juggling is going to happen because I say watch closely as I juggle these 3 white rings. So I establish, yes, I do have 3 white rings. I'm actually doing like in a magic thing because there's going to be a moment of magic in a bit because I'm presenting them like 3 white rings. I show them the rings, and now we can get going. But I first of all start with 1 ring. Now, remember in the Anthony Gatto workshop when I was looking at his stuff, said what you need to do is establish yourself as a human being on stage, which is difficult if you suddenly immediately go out on stage and start with looking up at the objects that you're juggling, because you're introducing people to your chin and they can't see your face.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to see, people want to be able to see your face expressions, look at you in the eyes. Yes. That's very important.
And this is why 1 ring in front of your body.
In front of my body. Also, it's very difficult to establish to let people look in your eyes when you do ring juggling, because so often you actually want to do ring juggling sideways on, of course.
Yes,
sideways on so you can see the rings.
The rings sideways and then turn to the front. I can
turn them to the front. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to, people to be able to see my face, and also for me to be able to see the audience. Yeah. As I do this. Me looking at the audience, then being able to look at my face, establishes a connection with me as a human. Not so important in my main cruise ship juggling show, because I've already spent 20 minutes, 25 minutes with them by this point. They know me by then.
Yes.
But if I'm just going out on stage and people have never seen me juggle yet or don't know me as a person, this is a little moment before the juggling starts. It's very, very subtle, you know, like the music starts, and I'm pretty much just going straight into it. It goes 1, 2, but here I can look, and then, and I'm already looking at the audience. Now, here's another thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah, what's up?
Can you scroll back a bit?
Yeah.
When you at that, a little bit before that,
yeah.
Look, you are holding the rings and then you glance back to the audience. Like you do this and then whoop.
Yeah, because I don't need to look at the start.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
Here's the key thing. Here's a key thing. One of the worst things I ever see people do when they're doing a juggling routine is they can even do the thing where they establish moments with the audience. They establish a connection there. And then the first thing they do is they try and do like a 3-club multiplex with a really difficult catch because they want to go bam and come out there, like come out there firing. That is really great. You can have those moments in a show where you build up, and then suddenly there's an explosion of something fun and interesting and impressive.
If you call it West Peden.
If you call it West Peden, or if you're just an amazing juggling and it's well within your comfort zone. Thing is, with me, I have to go out on stage and do this with no warm-up.
Yeah.
Not at this part of my show. I'm pretty well warmed up at this point in the show.
The counting of the rings is your warm-up at that point.
But also not just the counting of my rings is the warm-up, but here where I just go 1, 2, 3. I'm just getting my hands used to moving. Right. And that sounds like so super like obvious. Well, not obvious, but it seems like super easy, like a really stupidly easy way to start a routine. But this is how I start almost every single routine. Like when I do a Diablo, I throw the Diablo catching on the string and it's just some throws and catches. When I do the 3-ball routine, I start off by going cross, cross, cross. You know, when I do my bounce routine, I guess I start off with just, I can't even remember how I start off. It's sort of like just 3-ball or something like that. When I do like all of these different routines that I do, the ping pong routine, I just start with 1 ball bouncing. Doing that doesn't only make it easy for me to warm up, like, Luke's warming up now, which is very handy for me. It also warms up the brain of the audience because they're not having to suddenly track 5 props, 3 props, 2 props. They're tracking 1 prop. I'm teaching them the language of the juggling prop.
Yes.
Now, Anthony Gatto doesn't need to do this because he comes out, his language of juggling props is too many objects that you can't even follow them. And he can start off his routine with that because what he's doing in his act is establishing himself. I'm the best juggler in the world. Look at me, I'm the best juggler in the world. So if he starts off with 1 object, you're like, nah, you're not the best object. I could do that. Yeah. But actually, I want to establish in my act, everybody watching to think, I could do that. He's just throwing a ring backwards and forwards.
I was just thinking, like, if people see you on stage, they still are in this, they maybe have never seen a juggler before, and then they see you do this with 1 ring, and they think, I can do that.
Yeah. I want them to think that, because then as it goes up, there'll be a point where everyone in the audience goes, oh, this is suddenly taking a step, and you'll know that moment when it steps up in that way.
Yeah.
Also, there was another thing I was going to say about just doing 1 prop. Oh, yeah, like, also, I'm performing for non-jugglers. This routine I performed hundreds of times for non-jugglers and maybe a dozen times for jugglers.
Yeah.
So in this case, I don't need to impress people straight away. So that's another thing you got to work out. So I start off, I'm just throwing it backwards and forwards. Then I roll it around my hands. I'm going to do a bit more of that later. Behind the back catch, roll. That's a terrible roll across the back. I should find some other moments, but that's actually there's actually a really nice. It's a really nice moment. Maybe I can go over here as well. If I maybe. Again, this is me just performing. Oh look, it looks really good there as well.
It
looks much better.
Yeah, you're just wearing a t-shirt.
It's actually easier with a t-shirt. So that has got better. That has got better over time. That rolling across the back here. But yeah, and then I catch behind the back and just a few back crosses. Those pretty much all of those are going to come back later with behind the back catches, or at least back crosses and things like that. Those back crosses are going to come in later, and then I go straight into. Not juggling a normal ring cascade, because I realized actually that wasn't dynamic enough to do all of that stuff like with the 1 ring, and then I go into this 3-ring section. Going just into a normal cascade, it didn't feel dynamic enough. So that's why I don't just go into a normal cascade. It's here, up, and I do this little multiplex up and out, and then it's straight over to 1 above the head. And I immediately get some reaction from the audience. It's not the biggest first applause point, but this is because the music kicks up a gear at that point. Yeah. And the juggling goes from 1 ring into a trick. So that contrast is actually big.
It's a nice transition as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check if people are still...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people are still in the chat. Look, it says 14 people watching. We don't need to... If someone asks a question, if you're watching, ask questions, we'll reply to them here as well. So yeah, then we're into this routine here as well. And again, what I'm actually doing here is these little moments where I've actually not looked at the audience for a while, and it's not like I'm shy for them, but I actually choreograph in a few little moments where now I can still make another little thing here. So I throw one high, and it's just that little glance to the audience.
And it feels like at that moment, because people are quite likely to have started clapping at that moment. Yeah. So it's kind of like your little thank you look. Yeah. A little like, I appreciate, I hear that you're doing this.
Or, if they haven't started clapping yet, me looking at the audience like and just doing some of these high throws here. Actually, these days, with the latest choreography, or how it's changed, I actually do a few more high throws just to give me a little bit more chance to play with it. And then I go into this where I'm rolling the rings around it. Again, I've not really done much of a thing. Oh, here's an interesting point. I want to be able to... One of the reasons that I choreograph this whole start, because this is actually a color changing, I'm going to do color changing ring routine. The whole thing is about colors of rings. Mm-hmm. But up until this point, it's all been white ring juggling. Yes. And so the thing here where I'm actually doing this pirouette, where I'm doing a 2-up pirouette, and I'm swapping the other one in my hand.
You're holding them in
I'm
hand,
actually, so the way that I'm swapping them in my hand is making sure that because if I just held it in my hand and went like that and turned around, it would be showing the other side. Yes. The reason I'm doing 2-up pirouettes there instead of 3-up pirouettes there is because this routine wasn't just designed to perform on big stages. I trained it in my juggling studio at home, so I could have done 3-up pirouettes, 3-up half pirouettes. Mm-hmm. But I knew I was going to perform a lot on a little ship here called the Prinsendam. Now, here on the Prinsendam, you can really see how low the ceiling is. When you're actually doing these tricks, look at that. There's these holes in the ceiling. I can only do that trick, even with the 2-up. I can only do it at one point in the ceiling. Right. At one point, well, there's actually a few little points. There's these little bits. Like 4 there's these 4 squares, but some of them have lights in them, and other ones don't. So it's very, very low ceiling. Now, here's the thing. When you perform juggling routines, you might choreograph them going, oh yeah, I can always throw a triple. I always made sure that I could do a routine under a low ceiling. And I worked out, actually, doing a 3-up half pirouette took too much space, but I didn't want to learn 2 different parts of this part of the routine because I knew the 3-ring section was going to be completely choreographed to be able to fit under this low ceiling.
Right.
And that's what it did. So this,
and then if it can fit under the low ceiling, it can fit under
the high ceiling with the same choreography. Yes. So what you're actually seeing here with this with this half pirouette moment is, it seems a bit weird, sort of like, oh, why isn't that a 3-up pirouette? I do 3-up pirouettes later on in this high ceiling version. It just became, it was the low ceiling choreography came over here into the high ceiling version. Yes. Because I only ever wanted to train one thing and do one trick.
But I also like it that it's still, I mean, it's a bit more technical now, but it's still not very fast. It's not like people can still follow really calmly which ring goes where. And
also later on I do a 4-ring half pirouettes as well, and so I wanted to have that reflected in there. I'm actually only doing a 2-up half pirouette because I throw 2 rings behind me, and by then it's a color changing trick. Whereas here I'm just establishing that if I throw 2 rings up and turn around, it doesn't lessen what's coming up later on, where I'm doing the 4-ring 2-up half pirouette. Here, I've also done a 3-ring 2-up half pirouette. So it's a little bit more symmetry, because something that always annoys me when people do tricks, they'll do a tricks with 3 and the trick will last a long time. Then they'll do the same trick with 4 and it'll last a short amount of time. And then they'll do the same trick with 5 and it'll be a diminished version. So each time they do something, it's going to be a diminished version of what they've done before. And I don't like that, you know.
Yes, I see.
I actually had a numbers juggling routine once where I picked up one ball and did a 1-ball flash, and then picked up another ball and did a 2-ball flash, and then picked up another ball and did a 3-ball flash, all the way up to 9 balls, with the idea being that it didn't lessen, it didn't go down, like the time I was juggling didn't go down with each number, it actually went up with each number. Not the case in this routine, but it's always in my mind.
Yeah, I understand. So, like in the other workshop, we watched through the whole things before and then talked. Do you want to continue now talking through step by step?
Yeah, we're just going to go through step by step. Yeah. If people want to watch the whole routine, but we're going to see the whole routine in lots of different ways. I mean, that was more because people might not have seen this before. People might not have seen this either, but I've been performing it for 10 years. It's one of my most successful things. I don't need to establish it, you know, like we watch Willie because his videos aren't available online and things like this. This is available in like 5 different versions, or 3 different versions online. Okay, well, but don't worry too much about people watching it in advance. So yeah, we do this kind of thing. Oh, now I'm back to, even though it's only been 1 minute before where I've been juggling one ring in front of my body, I'm back to that point again, but with 3 rings. So again, I can do this juggling and I can establish myself. Again, people can look here and they're looking at me. I've gone away from sideways juggling back to I'm facing you front.
Oh, so you're smiling?
Yeah, I'm smiling.
Like that.
It's very handy to be able to smile. Weirdly enough, I never knew when the first big applause point was going to come in the routine. And it's this trick where I go from juggling 3 rings in front of my body to juggling 3 rings over my head. Yeah. For me, it felt like a very equivalent trick because it's three ring flats and I go from here to here.
Yeah.
And for some reason, me juggling this pattern here with my arms really high up is now the point where everybody starts clapping for the first time. If they haven't clapped before, they see me here and I transition from this one into this one. This is where everyone claps now, or all non-jugglers clap, if I'm juggling for an audience thing. Yeah. But really, this was a sequence that I came up with where I wanted to do all of these tricks, which I've done previously in my show.
Yeah.
In my 3-ball routine, I say, hey, this trick, I actually say to people, this trick is called Mills Mess. When I throw it behind my back, it's called a back cross. So this section is actually calling back to the previous part of my show, where I've done 3-ball juggling. So and now I'm doing
observant people.
They'll be like,
make the connection.
Up until now, they won't recognize anything, but now they're like, oh, he's done this already. He did the 3-ball juggling and he did back crosses and he did Mills Mess. This is a moment of recognition for people who've been paying attention for previously.
Yes.
Previously in the show.
My job.
What's that?
I'm now asking you. Want to ask you a question from the people in the chat. Somebody. FIFA Belby is asking what's a 1-ball flash?
You hold the ball and you throw it to the other hand and go 1, and then you pick up 2 balls and go 2, and then throw them across. It's very stupid. So then I go from this and I go into Mills Mess here. Again, these are color changing rings. Nobody's seen any colors yet.
And you're really working hard and showing always ever one front of the ring.
Yeah, because I was really interested in saying, hey, I juggle these color changing rings. Can I come up with a whole routine where people don't know that I'm juggling color changing rings? And it turns out, yes, I can. And it became the basis of the first 2 minutes of this routine, where I actually do all of this stuff. So yeah, Mills Mess, people have seen it previously. And now... there we go. This is the moment of magic where the rings change color and the people go woo like this. It's really, really satisfying.
And it's such a simple little trick.
It's such a simple trick. All you do is catch the ring and it flips around in your hand. And it's so simple and effective, but like it's such a great moment. And again, it's just after that first applause break and then a moment of recognition and go into this. And then 3 in 1 hand to really drive the point home. Okay, here's a point. Always make sure that the first time that you stop juggling in your routine is when you decide to stop juggling in your routine. The worst thing is when you see people juggle and juggle and juggle and juggle and drop, and then the audience starts clapping because that's the first real moment of release of tension.
You're giving them the time, okay, now, I've shown you a section, now this is your clapping moment. And all the other bits of clapping in between is really just
from them.
It's them. It's from.
But this is such a clear for me. It's such a clear applause break here.
Yeah.
Where
it's literally after 2 minutes.
Yeah. These days, I think I do something a bit nicer with my hand at the moment. My hand is sort of like just flopping there. But yes, I bring it round and I spin the ring and it's like that. Get a nice little thing. Sometimes that works a bit quick. Maybe can I find a version where maybe over here, if I bring it up here, can I? When I go into the ring juggling routine. Oh yeah, come in here and I do the ring changing. Let's see what it looks like these days. Do I actually do something different with my hand? Yeah, I actually do put my hand. Well, that's from 2016. So I put my thumb on the seam of my trousers just to make my hand look a little bit like less floppy. But it's the thing that you only notice when you look back on video and go, "What's the hand doing?" It's just like flopping around there. Yeah, and then I flick the ring up here. Yeah,
it's pretty.
Yeah, it's really pretty. And it gives me, even there, you notice I'm sort of like talking to the others going, yeah, this is really tricky, a little bit colour changing. I don't even know what I'm saying there. But all of these times, again, we're watching back one of the first versions. Now I'm much better at performing. I take these moments to be able to like nod to the audience and talk to the audience a bit more. And then I get back into it. And then it comes up with the pancake. Oh, let's actually go back. Let's stay with the 2010 routine. So yeah. This is the part where it kind of reveals how the color changing works if you've not seen it.
Yeah.
I do a high throw. People clap just the high throw here. One of the tricks which always, again, surprises me that this trick here always gets a huge round of applause from the audience. Because it is so visually arresting, I really like it. The lighting's not fantastic here. This is technique that I came up with Pancakes, because again, it's about the different dimensions of ring juggling. So, we've done Pancakes this way, and now we're doing Pancakes this way.
Yeah. And it makes a fun shape as well, because it creates the illusion that the ring somehow becomes like a ball in the air. And also, I really like the timing with the music at that point. Yeah. It's like this.
That's true. Yeah, it comes up there. Yeah, I would prefer to do one with the left hand than one with the right hand, but it fits better with the music to do two with the right hand. And then I do, the sideways are the vertical axis, the vertex pancakes. And then I finish off with the pancakes with the flat front pancakes, where the axis is like directly onto the audience. And so I can do this flipping over, and it looks like they're flipping over the top. Yeah. And then finishing to the music. All right, that's a really nice moment as well. One thing is that I don't finish with the hardest one. Jugglers know that the pancakes like this are easy, and then pancakes like that are harder. And for them, the new thing is this pancakes, where I flip them up. So the jugglers clap at this one. Non-jugglers clap at the last one that I do. They're like, oh, and then they see that, and I put them all down. Finishing onto the music. Here's another thing. Key thing when you're choreographing juggling to music. People want to do big tricks to the music, to the biggest music cues. Don't do that. What you should always do is do the biggest tricks to the moment. No, you always want to stop your juggling at the moment where the music changes the most. Yes. Choreograph your stopping moments to the most recognizable moment, because you think, oh, at this point in the music I'm doing some juggling here. Some of the audience will pick that up, some of the audience won't. But if you can time like all stopping of all motion, like I've established what the language is of this prop. The rings do this. They also do that. They also color change. They can also flip in these different dimensions. And I'm making a statement with my juggling about what this juggling can be. Yes. And then if you stop juggling very, very cleanly and all motion stops, it's like the end of a sentence or the end of a paragraph. If you can time that to the music, it's even a clearer statement. But one of the most important things is to make sure that when you stop juggling, there isn't continuous movement. I had actually beforehand, when I finished this point and I finished this, and I came here to the end of this thing here, I actually came down, and there's some motion there. It's actually more important. It's actually clearer for the audience if you can make it so when it comes to a stop, there is no motion at all. Like with the rings. And I'm even then showing them at that point, I'm showing, hey, all the rings are all white, because that's the only tricky part in that routine, because after doing all those flips, if I just pulled them down over my head randomly, they sometimes wouldn't be the right way round. But the way I'm juggling, I'm making sure that when I do a pull down, a pull down, a pull down, they all end up white at the end. Yeah. Maybe I can, does that happen every single time? I'm not sure. What happens here? So on this version, it comes over, so a few over the top. I think if they're not perfect in my hand, like that, you see?
And you tangled on
I got a little bit tangled, because for me it was more important to make sure that they're all the correct way round over my head than it for it to be smooth. Of course, I want it to be smooth. This is why I shared the other video, because it's actually smoother than this, and this was just sort of like another fun video that I shared just as a fun thing performing for juggling.
And if you have a little bit of an understanding of music, you will get to the realization that music is very, very put together in parts.
Yes.
So you have
A, B, C, A, B, whatever.
I mean, not all music, which sometimes makes the music a bit exhausting if there is no stopping point, if there are no arcs that finish at a certain point. But generally, you have bits and pieces, and so you can hear when it's approaching.
It should do,
And even if you did a mistake or something in there, you can then adapt it and then at the stopping point, still do the stopping.
This piece of music I chose, to just talk about the music a bit more. This is Sing 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 by the Benny Goodman Orchestra. Benny Goodman and whatever orchestra, whichever orchestra did this recording. But it's a super famous piece of music. And the reason they can use a super famous piece of music is because it immediately puts everyone's mind to rest. Like, I'm performing for cruise ships. This music, they don't actually hear this music very much in the theater, but like if there's some dancing, this is standard. It's super standard. And sometimes something so standard is what you want.
Yes.
And in this case, this piece of music, I've seen it performed in maybe like 4 or 5 other juggling routines that I've seen in the last 10 years to the same piece of music, and I've got no problem with that at all. Yeah. Who's the bounce juggler? Ilya, someone who does the bounce juggling, he uses this piece of music. I've seen some foot jugglers use it, and other kind of stuff. So
no, it's good because people then are not kind of distracted by the music.
Nope.
Because they know this, and it's like it works.
I actually made this routine with the idea to replace the music, like if I needed to replace the music. Like in my 3-ball video routine, I used some music and then wrote my own once I worked out the different choreography.
Okay.
With my ball bouncing routine, I used that Niels Fram piece of music, and then I wrote my own music once I worked out what the choreography was going to be.
Yeah.
But for this, this is the routine. Good question. Why did I pick this video? Because this is the original video that I published of this. I made this routine in 2010, and this is a video from 2010. And I have other videos of me performing it, but I wanted to see what it looked like what lessons I could learn right at the start of this process. I've been performing this routine since 2010, so 10 years. Since I think the first time I performed it would have been in February, because I actually performed it on the first gig that I went on when I started the International Juggler project. So, 2009 actually then. So it was, it was 2009. So I've been performing this routine for 11 years, and it would be a bit easy just to pick out how well I perform it now. I want to see what lessons I learned from Anthony Gatto at the very start.
So what we see here is approximately after a year of performing this routine.
About a year and a half of performing, probably 2 years of working on it, and about a year and a half of performing it.
Okay, cool.
So it's still not good, but I think every routine will take about 5 years for it to become really good and for you to get really good at performing. If you think your routine is going to be amazing after 2 years, you just got to put in another 3 years and then it's going to be good. You can see that with my history of 3-ball and juggling routine, with this kind of stuff, and also routines that I work on for 2 years and then never perform again because they're not good enough for me. Anyway, let's keep going. We got this down over the head, a little moment here, multiplex into a 3-ring catch. And at that point, it's actually a bit messy there as well, this routine, but I need to set it up that I'm going to do some more color changing here. So I'm actually going to do a 4-4-1, 4-4-1, like that, and a 4-4-1 with a behind the back cross. And each time I do the trick, we get a new one. So this is the little section where it's this slow, this is now, beforehand when I was doing color changing, it was very quick, and now it's progressive ring color changing. So people can really see when the ring is changing, okay? Over the head, over the head each time changes the ring color, you see that?
Of course.
And this one here, actually, weirdly enough, the ring doesn't change color with this one, but it's now just a different trick that I can do. The earring trick, which was invented by me, also by Luke Wilson, and perfected by Komi Aoki, and then became a standard trick. But yeah, I think I was the first person to perform this, maybe, because I don't think Luke Wilson performed it before me. But this is 20 years ago now. I invented that trick by accident. The earring trick.
Because you just caught it on the ear.
No, I was working, because I did this workshop called the creativity of ring juggling, and I was going through like all the different places in your body that you can put a ring. On your head, here, hang it here. You're going to see some more of this in this routine. And I was like, and hang it on the ear. So I think what I was doing, I was trying to go from 4 rings into 5 rings, or 3 rings into 4 rings from the ear, from the ring around my ear. And I reached up to grab it, missed it, and it pushed it, and it flipped the ear, it flipped it around to here, and then it kind of like balanced here and then fell over, and I was like, oh. So then I had this thing where I kept on putting the ring on my ear and hitting it and trying to make it land in the same place, and I couldn't do it. And then of course over time you realize, oh, you can put the ring here and go like this. This was like in 2000 probably, I don't know, maybe earlier, I don't know. But then later on someone said like Luke Wilson had done it before me, so I totally get that. But it was funny, Kame Aoki, who did a whole routine of this at the IJA when I was there actually in 2014 or something. He did a full routine which was all based on rings going from one side, and then he came up to me and said, hey, check this out. Like, he was really excited to show it to me. It's quite funny. Anyway, so that's a fun trick that I can put in here. Bit of ring grinding. This is always a good one because now I really play that up with the audience a lot more. Maybe let's actually look on a different one here. Let's look at the Russian when I performed it in Russia.
This is the most recent one.
Yeah, this is from 2018, I guess. So yeah, this is, you can see it from behind. Oh, this is very nice quality. You can see this is with the best quality camera. Yeah. And this is performing for jugglers.
Oops.
Yeah, you see, this is why I don't share all my videos, because there's going to be mistakes in them.
Oops.
I don't know why I did that one. See, it's only a small moment where I catch the ring there and just look around and go, what's going on here? Yeah. But and it's very subtle, but I just have a lot more times in the routine as I get better at juggling it where I can...
I also like how by doing this, because you already showed the Mills Mess thing.
Yeah.
And now you're adding
another kind of
trick
Mills mess.
to the Mills mess.
Yeah, here where I do this kind of thing, it looks Mills messish. I've already established it. Yeah, and also then I do another kind of behind the back thing here as well. Ooh. And those Mills mess and behind the back are like one of the things that come throughout my show. I already explained it with the balls. I actually name the tricks and do them in my routine. And as I showed you before, when I actually do it with this forward front thing, I do again back crosses in Mills mess, and now here with the ring grinding section I do the same kind of thing. It's a subtle thing, but here with the ring grinding it comes Mills, oh no, not that time, but yeah, there's a Mills mess. So it kind of trains people that if they see a back cross there might be Mills mess coming, and if they see a Mills mess there's probably going to be some back cross kind of thing coming. Again, it's subtle, but I think about it. And again, finishing to the music. Yeah. It always feels a bit like a race. I want to pick up the tempo here at the end as well, where it comes in here, up, it goes pretty much straight into the pirouette, and then end as quickly as possible after the pirouette, because the pirouette's the last trick, and then the most important thing is get to the ending as quickly as possible onto the music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it still work the same in the current version, in 2018?
Yep, do exactly the same thing. Although, actually, let me show you something different in the low ceiling version. Do this.
You can't do the 3 up.
I can't do the 3 up. So what do I do here? Do the Mills mess version. Do behind the back. And then here I do a 1 up pirouette and pretty much the same thing. Okay. Yeah. So the only difference in choreography is how high I throw the high throw. This is between doing it under a low ceiling where literally I can jump and touch the ceiling. I can either do it under a low ceiling with all the same tricks, except I don't throw there's some single high throws, which I don't throw as high, but they're not actually tricks, they're just a high throw. Like with the pancakes, I do some high throws with the pancakes. The only difference is this moment here, where instead of doing a 3 up pirouette, I do a 1 up pirouette, and there. Look. And that's it. That's the only difference between the high and low ceiling variations of this juggling routine.
And making your routine fit different locations.
Yeah.
Would you consider that part of performing?
It's part of being a professional juggler, because I've seen people turn up to juggling conventions and they're like, but I have to perform on a stage and nobody can see me, but I do a laying down on the stage part of the routine. I talked about this before in workshops in the past, haven't I? Yeah. About like if something is on the floor and you lay down on the floor and all of the audience can't see you. Oh yeah, it was about what every EJC gets wrong when I'm talking about stage height.
Yes.
If you're a professional juggler and you turn up and people can't see anything below your waist and your routine relies on stuff happening below your waist, you've failed. If you turn up somewhere and the ceiling's too low or you can't do it with the lights in your eyes, you've failed. So this routine is designed. Actually, we could probably cover up like the bottom part of this video. How would I even do that? Or maybe if I go like this, I'm not sure if this works with the live stream, but if I have this video here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And we look through the video from like at this point, you'll actually see that you can see my entire juggling routine from my waist up. It's because I didn't come up with this routine to perform all the time on the biggest and best stages on these cruise ships where everyone's got perfect sight lines. I made this routine where people are on the Princeton and this camera's in a really good position, but you see the stage is really low, and at some point I come down, you see how I'm like off the front of the stage a little bit. I need to make sure that everything happens above waist height level in this routine.
Yeah.
So that's a little thing that you got to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, because most stages are set up in mind that people are usually standing up doing whatever they do.
Yeah, it's for singers.
Musicians.
People, singers,
bands.
You're seeing from the waist up. Guitarists, waist up. Piano players, a little bit lower down, but generally
musicians don't lay down on
also,
the floor.
this kind of stuff. You see the speakers on the front? Yeah, I don't even bother with those anymore because I just want people to be able to see me a bit better. All right, let's continue on with the routine. Because how far are we?
Another clapping point.
Yeah, another clapping point. And this is a little point for me. You see that? I am actually fiddling with my ear because doing the ring on the ear trick, it took my microphone off my ear. So here we go, up into the 4 rings, and I actually got to get to the right place on stage now. I actually do this a little bit different now, but again, on the music, we change ring color changes.
And you do this by just flipping.
Yeah, I catch on the inside, catch on the inside,
and
it comes around. Yeah, like this. But what I'm really doing now is re-establishing what I've done with 3 rings, but now I'm doing it with 4 rings. So this is all meant to rhyme. Okay, so I've done ring color changing. I'm doing a higher and lower throws here. A high throw, this is 7/4/4. And this is the part that I do where I'm doing, you see what I mentioned before about doing these half pirouettes with a 2-up. This is the moment I do. And actually, this half pirouette is a color changing pirouette. Whereas before I did the half pirouette specifically not to do color changing, now I'm doing a half pirouette specifically to do color changing. You see that?
Yeah.
And I do that little thing.
You throw the white rings in the air, and then you move your body, and by turning the rings.
So yeah, the color, the ones that I throw in the air don't change. So these 2 high ones don't change, but the lower ones do. And then I make it so I can do it back again, and that's done the full color change ring. I don't do this in my routine anymore because people would always start clapping there because they thought that trick was me stopping juggling, and there wasn't meant to be a pause there. Oh, so now I think actually let's go over, maybe I'm not sure if it's clear in this one.
What are you doing now?
Yeah, after this same trick here, I come over here. Yeah, and I just use that as a transition into it. Because the music dies down a bit here, and I want to get into the 5-ring split. So that's, the choreography has changed there, because it turns out that I was doing that thing. All right, this is where the music comes down quite a lot, and I want this transition to be clearer. So here, that was a messy ring color changing transition.
Yes,
now
it's unnecessary.
Now I just go into sync and just turn on the sync, and turning means I can do this one. This is one of my favorite tricks. The ring split, you can do it with clubs as well. People always clap at that one. And then,
oh, I like this. This is one of my favorites.
I never understand why people really get into this trick.
Because it seems really hard. You have 4 rings and you're only ever manipulating one of the rings to do something different. And for people like me as a non-juggler, I find this fascinating. It's cool. Like you can keep 3 rings in the same thing doing,
and then one is flipping.
One of them is always doing something different.
I get it.
So
this trick is the culmination of all the conceptual stuff that I've done so far. I do a half shower, and I do a normal throw. I do an outside throw. I do a behind the back throw, and I think a pancake throw or something like that. And I do that twice through. So let's just see. Let's see which one here. Is that what happens now? I went back a little bit too far. But yeah, I transition here. Oh, you see what I do there actually? This is the one mistake in the whole of this video, except for the rolling across the shoulders, is this bit here. I come out of this and you see that I've got a white, red. And I know that to go into this next trick, I need them all to be perfect. So what I do is with that one, I do a little color changing. You can see before I go into that trick, I just swap it round in my hand. So there is a subtle color change there. So
you're keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, and so now they're all background. So pancake, over the top, behind the back. Normal, pancake, over the top, behind the back. It's actually a really tricky trick. That's probably, like, technically as a juggler, that's the one trick that I'm like, oh, here we go. That's the moment of like, here I go.
Okay, but this means that, like, let's say you are now 4.5 minutes into the routine, and this is the first time you actually, 3.5 minutes or whatever. And then this is the first time you actually really need to concentrate. Like you have 3 minutes to warm up, and then you like really.
Yeah, pretty much. This is the point in the act where I'm like, oh, here comes the difficult section, and it's no. What do I start? I start at 4. Yeah, so it's like 3.5 minutes in is the time when I'm like, now's the stuff.
Now is the.
Here's something which I actually find challenging. Up until now, I've been impressed with it because of the nice choreography. I've been interested in it with a nice concept. I've been creative with the new tricks that I've put in, and I'm showing off tricks that I've invented and things like that. And I've made connections with the audience. This is the point in the routine where I'm like, now's where it gets difficult. You know, this is where you get into the 4-ring tricks, the 5 rings, the 7 rings, and things like that.
Yeah.
So end off with a bit of pancakes.
The way that you're looking there, though.
I'm making this look as hard as possible. This is where I'm trying to make people think this is hard. Why? What were you going to say?
Well, I think you look a bit like you're like whistling along, like.
Oh, do it? Well, let me see what I do more recently. I can let's see when I'm performing. This is me performing at the open stage in the living room where I'm performing for other jugglers. Yeah, I don't know what I do here. See, this is actually.
You make this look much harder now.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I've heard people say that what you should do is make the easy stuff look hard. That's actually a really hard trick. And then I'm back into it. Yeah, that transition is much quicker. again, here's the thing, going down onto one knee is I talk about this. Like really I talk because that's really wobbly. But I talked about this when I was talking about Anthony Gatto. This is my going down. This is me ripping off Anthony Gatto, like the going down onto one knee moment. Like I just wanted it in the routine. So here it is. When you go this, because I wanted to throw that one away and catch it. The idea is that I'm throwing it into the audience and I want to catch it over the audience. So I go down as low at the front of the stage as possible.
It feels a bit like gentleman-like.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect you from this one ring there.
And here's the thing. Sometimes I don't catch them all the way around in my hand. And when I don't, like now I'm like, and people can see, oh, they're all white and lined up because that's why I did that color changing, so make it easy.
There's these subtle gestures, like this.
Yeah.
You're fanning them out.
Yeah, I'm fanning them out and blowing them on. It's like it's totally being
I did what I wanted to do.
Doing that. Like that is such a cheesy, that's such Anthony Gatto. I'm going like this, fanning myself kind of moment. Yeah. It's so cheesy, but hey, I'm into cheesy.
I mean, this is part of this is the routine. The routine is, the music is cheesy, the whole thing.
At this point I play with the audience. Now what I do, each time I pick up a new ring, I signal to someone in the audience how many rings I'm juggling, just to make it like really clear. I'm like, because I do that with the 3 rings, when I do 4 rings, at this point I'm like, 5, like I'll often get 5 rings to the audience. Yeah. Maybe I have that when let's see, 2000. I don't know, do I do it with jugglers here? Let's see if I go like this.
Yeah. Like did you see he was all red to the outside?
Yeah, it just depends which way round the final trick is. But yeah, see the jugglers in Russia are into it. So do I do it 5? Yeah, again, it's just a small thing. I'm just like 5. I may always make eye contact with someone in the front row who doesn't seem to understand what's going on. I'm just like 5 rings. 5.
It really fits also with the suit, like your look. It all fits really well together with what
I'm wearing. Well, my suit is as neutral as possible because if I want to, because I'm about to do some clowning and earlier on I do some much more physical stuff. But then when I'm wanting to do like specific technical juggling, if I'm wearing a clown suit or something really, if I'm wearing something too sparkly and I'm just talking, you're like, well, you're overdressed for talking. Whereas if I'm wearing something stupid and then I do something technical, you're like, well, you're underdressed for technical. Yeah. You know what I mean? So having a black suit with a black shirt is like the most neutral thing, so I can take on any character on stage. Yeah. All right, so let's go on with this. What do I do now? Let's go back. I keep forgetting. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to 2010. So here we do, and we're just going to do some color changing here as well. Because people are clapping. All right, there's always different lengths of time that you can juggle before people start clapping. If you're just doing a flash, you can get it out the way straight away. You start juggling, you stop juggling, and as you stop juggling, people start clapping. But there's another point where if you juggle something and you juggle it long enough and people go, oh, this is impressive, they'll start giving you a clap. Yeah. At that moment, I want to transition into doing a trick and hopefully keep that clap going. Comedians call this riding the wave. Yeah. Well, they'll get some people laughing, and before they finish laughing, you make them laugh at the next thing. Yeah. And before they finish stop laughing at that,
so
you make them keep going.
Out the laughs.
So what I'm doing is I wait until the moment where they start clapping, and then I do the trick.
So you're literally
listening to the audience, also to the music. There is a point in the music where it comes naturally. But so this is me riding the wave. Listen to this applause. There it is, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I do that. And then the pirouette.
And
see, this is actually difficult. Yeah, it's all the same color.
Yeah, you're juggling the color, and then you do the pirouette, and the color still stays the same.
Now here's my breakdown. Anthony Gatto does it with 7 rings. Willie Colombi only does it with 7 rings. I'm not going to do a 7-ring breakdown. I probably could, but I'm never going to perform that.
Why not do a breakdown with 5?
If I'm going to do a breakdown, I don't just want to do Anthony Gatto's breakdown. One over the head, 1 over the arms, 1 under here. Because then if I'm doing it with 1 ring, I could just go like that. Yes. But I wanted a different moment of breaking tension with the Anthony Gatto, Dick Franco style. I think Dick Franco was the first one to perform the ring breakdown. Okay. Anthony Gatto did versions, other people have done versions as well. So the idea being that I wanted my own unique breakdown, and this just comes from my own investigations on how many different places you can put a ring. So 1 goes there, and then 1 on the back of my head, and I go like that. And I go, and you did that a few times, and people were like, "Oh, you look like you've got a helmet on." Another one, you like you're a diver, you know, the big, like an astronaut or something. So I was like, let's just go with this. So then I had this moment where I pretend that I'm deep sea diving.
And it fits on cruise ships, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about the cruise ships. It's just a fun thing, so I break it down. Now, weirdly enough, as I go back up again, it took me a while to work out how to go back up with all the rings in the right way around, but it's not a color changing trick.
Yeah.
It's actually
the same.
I actually turn 90 degrees, but all the rings are the same way round. So that's one of my favorite moments. People really like that, and also it's kind of the first joke in the routine.
Yeah.
You know, first like bit of comedy. Oh, these days I do a I actually just do a six throws and catches of 5-ring pancakes at this point of the routine. Now maybe do I do it here? Do I? Oh no, because actually, yeah, in that performance, I actually messed up. What did I mess up here? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's something that I do for jugglers is that I actually do some pancakes, but I messed up and I was like, okay, I'm not going to drop because like I don't want to drop, so I just stopped. I just did the stopping juggling part as well. Yeah. Okay. So these days I have changed it in a way that I actually put in a run of 5-ring pancakes in there as well, just because I'm better at it now. And back in 2009 when I choreographed it. Oh yeah, and this is a breakdown, another breakdown where I bring out my mouth. And this is me finishing on the music. Dum, 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 and dum, dum. And that's that moment that I'm aiming for. So if I can present to the audience with that. So just to clear things up, this is totally stolen from, this section is totally stolen from Sergei Ignatov. He does this thing where he breaks it down and then he does the last throw over his head like that. And I'm like, that's like the coolest trick ever for me. The flip up behind the back, over the head to catch on the head. One of my favorite tricks, and I needed it in this routine. Now, when I actually do the, I mentioned before about this low ceiling version where I do 3 rings, all of that 4-ring section is cut out because I don't have time to do it and the space to do it because the 4 rings is too high. Yeah. So what I actually do, we'll just watch this now with the 5 rings. Well, I messed up there. They're normally on top of the case, which I'll explain it again in a second. So here, it's just the same kind of routine, but I don't do the pirouette. Instead, I do another, and it's a different part of the music at this point. So I do ring color changing.
Yeah.
Here under the low ceiling version, and then I just do another one. This is where I'm normally doing the pirouette and setting up for the ring breakdown.
This is totally fine.
Yeah, and here I do the ring breakdown, and this is actually my chance to stand up on stage because you see I'm actually lower down there, and that's a point for me to come up on stage. Again, this is performing on the Princeton Dam. It's a cruise ship I performed on like 5 times a year for 10 years in a row or whatever, so this was always a thing for me, like can I perform this routine? And I do the same gag, and then what I do is at this point I come across to another hole in the floor because I know I don't have to actually do any difficult tricks. I'm just going to go into the 5 rings.
Yeah.
And here I actually just finish the entire routine. I just tell the technician when we get to this part of the routine, I just want you to fade out the music. And I just take the bow at that moment.
And it's good because at that moment people are clapping,
and
then the music fades. Nobody will hear that.
Look over here! Look at this standing ovation. You can't see it maybe on the live stream. Anyway, someone's giving me a standing ovation on a cruise ship there. I get a one person standing ovation at that point.
That's great.
Of the routine. All right, so let's go back into it. This is where the routine gets really silly. And what time is it? Yeah, we should finish up this in a few minutes. Okay, this is the build-up to the 7-ring routine. Now this looks like, not the 7-ring routine, this is the build-up to the 7-ring finale. Yeah. Now this looks like I'm just gonna do the 7 rings, and of course that's what I wanna do. People know that I can juggle the rings in my mouth, and then I have to drop. You see that? When it came down, I just punch it out of the air.
People know that you can juggle your ring in your mouth?
They've seen me take the ring out of my mouth to juggle it, so this doesn't come as a big surprise to them. Like I've already established that when I'm going to be juggling lots of objects, holding a ring in my mouth
and then taking it into
Before that, in my show, when I'm doing 5 big balls, I actually put 1 ball between my legs, and I'm juggling the 4 big balls, and I grab 1 ball, and so this is an established thing in my show that I'll put something somewhere until I need it, and then grab it. And go into it.
Okay.
But I'm going to take 2 attempts.
Oh, this is way too hard and too difficult.
This is all about creating tension in the audience. Can you do the trick? Now, of course, people know I can do the trick, but I'm going to pretend that I can't do the trick to actually be able to do the trick. And you can see when people do this, because if someone can't actually do the trick, they don't use it to build up the trick even more.
Yeah.
Willie Colombioni fails with the 8 clubs and then just gives it another go. He's sort of like, okay, I'm going to give it another go. But he didn't build the tension up properly the first time, and then when he drops, he doesn't use that as an excuse to build up the tension even better the second time. So what I do is I have to drop this as dramatically as possible. And so what I do is I just like you just punch it out the air. Just punch it out the air. And then I do this signal, and this is my signal that the music's going to stop. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. And at this point, it's difficult to see here, and I'm not going to turn the audio up, but what I do is I say 7 rings is very, very difficult. And then I do this whole section where I explain what trick I'm going to do while holding a ring in my mouth. So then they can't understand what I'm saying.
But you're still saying the words.
I'm saying all the words. I take the ring, and then I explain the whole trick. Now, the whole point of this is to make this last as long as possible, either until people stop clapping and laughing or until they start laughing. Because if they're not laughing at this point, it builds up. It's a very, very, very slow build where I'm explaining how to do this whole trick with a ring stuck in my mouth. Like this. It's the most stupid thing, but here's the thing.
Hilarious. I have seen it, and I've seen it, I don't know, 12 times now or something.
Yeah, let me show you when I did it. I just did it in Russia. And I'm trying to, thing is, I did this whole thing with no technical setup. I'm talking about the ring in the mouth. And as I start doing it, what happens is, the guy who's hosting the show is over in the background. He starts translating in, because he was translating in Russian before, and now he's doing this. He starts translating in Russian, saying this kind of stuff. So then I was interrupted by this. Oh, can it? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I have to actually tell him, like, this is the finale of my show. And all I'm doing is, it's just about the build-up.
And it's you don't actually have to understand your language, because what you're doing is you're literally showing what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'm explaining how I'm going to do this, and I actually say, like, oh, it's aesthetically, it's not aesthetically pleasing, which is a juggler called Mattis did a whole routine about aesthetically pleasing, or it's aesthetic, he would always shout and stuff like that. So the idea being that when you catch rings and they're all down your arm and stuff like that, you have to make them so they're presented nicely. So I'm pretty much saying to the audience, that I'm going to catch them one by one, all of them in my left hand, all of them here, and then I'm going to collect them together, present like that, and that's going to be the time. And then I explain that people are going to go crazy. This is all done with a ring in my mouth. And yeah, I explain that someone has to take their dick out and swing it around. It's really stupid. And then I tell people, like, and I explain what's going to happen, not just then, but like I also say, and then after that, I'll do it with the ring in my mouth. Then after that, I'm going to do some knife juggling, and the cruise director's going to come, and then you're going to go and you're going to drink and eat, and then you're going to go to sleep, but it all starts now. So it's this thing where I build up and build up and build up, and it just gets stupider and stupider. Let's
like that.
Yeah, of course people like that. But yeah, we can go over here. Let me just skip forward a bit. And then what I do is it feels like I'm going to be doing the right thing. And then I do this thing where I swing them around, because I want one more break of tension. Because what I've done up until this point, because I've been talking down at people and explaining so much, I've made myself super high status. Like in that kind of thing, I was telling the host of the show, I was swearing at him to shut up. Because at that point, I want to establish myself as really, really high status. But I can't do the trick, because if I fail then, it skewers it.
Yeah.
So what I actually do at this point is I hurt myself in a way which brings my status way down low, so then when I do the trick, it builds up again. And this is a very important part of drama inside of a juggling act, is that I've just established myself as super high status, too high status for me, and I have to skewer it. So what I do is I swing these rings around here, and then I hit myself in the face. And actually, not a great reaction. I got a lot better at selling this. Let's maybe have a look at here when I'm doing it here, where I have to explain what's going on. Yeah, it's this whole explaining thing. This is probably a good way of doing it, where so this whole thing, and yeah, like I say, I have to skewer myself. Yeah, I'm explaining that Paul's going to get up and say this kind of stuff, and we're going to drink and go home. It's this whole routine that I can do now. You may think, what has this got to do with juggling? It's got to do with, like, it's all the build-up to the finale trick. Yeah. And it's super important to do a big build-up for a finale trick, especially if it's not that important. But like I say, I always do this thing where I skewer it a bit first. I mean, it's such a stupid joke. But just the looks from the audience is... And at this point, and then I do the trick. I think I actually fail this time as well. And the good thing is if I fail for a second time, I can just stop the music again, pick up, and I can just do the loop until I do it. So there's never going to be a moment ever in this routine where I don't end this trick exactly to the music.
Yeah. Somebody asking if the host was messing up your routine by talking.
He wasn't messing up the routine, he was messing up the build-up to my trick. I was like, look, this is my show.
So he was kind of distracting.
He was distracting it. Literally, there's a very specific shape to it. Didn't matter. I mean, it was still a fun show. But it was one of those times I was like, oh, God, look, I'm just building up. I'm going for my standing ovation of the night here. Please let me just get my second standing ovation. I did the 3-ball and juggling routine, massive standing ovation. I mean, people in Russia have never seen it before. And then I did this routine. So I opened the show with the 3-ball routine, closed the show with the ring juggling routine. Yeah. These are Russian jugglers in the show. There's some really good jugglers, but I was the main international guest. So I'm ending it, I'm like, give me my standing ovation. And when suddenly someone starts interrupting something for you, which is very clear that's going on, it's really important. So yeah, even though this time I actually dropped it that second time, I can keep going with the ring juggling and finish exactly on the music, and people clap. Oh, I've got to turn the video audio down a bit. Yeah, so it's really important that all of that finishes exactly to the music, and then I can.
Even though you
messed up, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is me performing to friends in my own living room. But yeah, it's a good look. So yeah, so that's what I do here.
What's happening here now?
I mean, this is just the original version. It's exactly the same. The music comes on. I also wanted to say that if I'm running late in my show, long in my show, there's actually quite a long section of no juggling, and the comedy, yeah, that's pretty much the end of the routine. So here's the thing. Over here, I mentioned before about the case. I always say to the technician that if you see no rings on here, if you see any rings on there, don't touch the music. Don't stop the music. Because there's actually previous times in the routine where I present the rings in my hand to the audience. And before, once or twice, or once it happened where I did that and he stopped the music. And another time that they didn't understand that wasn't the end, and I did a drop and he stopped the music at the drop. I was like, no, don't stop the music at the drop. I have to drop on purpose. But sometimes I'll drop in the 3-ring or 4-ring or 5-ring section. It happens.
Of course.
So in this case, I wanted to be able to have it very clear. So I say when there's no more rings there, and I drop and I do this, stop the music beforehand. And that's very important because their fingers are waiting on this pause button. But if previously in my show something has run a bit long, or just the show's running long, or I don't want to do this, or maybe I've dropped a few too many times. If I've actually dropped a few times in the ring routine, it's not funny to drop on purpose and then build it up again, because people are like, oh, what's different about this drop than previous drops?
Of course.
So what I'll do is I won't drop on purpose, but I'll just do the 7 rings, and if it goes clean the first time, perfect, and I'll just finish it, and that takes 2 minutes out of my show, which could be all I need to finish the show on time.
Yes.
And in this case, I was just like, oh, let's just finish it. I'm just going to finish the act.
That's very handy. It's like it's a period of time that you can expand as long as you want,
or cut out completely.
Completely. And that's cool.
So then I finish it here as well. Actually, I had some other some things here as well. Sorry, come in.
What I just saw here is something I think is very important for all performers. You didn't just immediately, like, you were bowing. Like, you finished, plop, and then you're standing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And then you bow.
Yeah, I said this last month in my you classical musicians know just how long you stand there. You're just going to get like standing ovation. People are just going to clap for how long you want.
Sometimes you feel as the performer on stage, you feel like,
I want to get off.
Oh, this takes too long. And you don't even think about it. But this gives the audience the time to look at you, to appreciate what you did, and then you bow.
See, this is in Russia at the convention. I'm actually getting people to cheer before I've even done it. It's me hitting myself in the face. Yeah, I look really angry at the audience for laughing at me for hurting myself. And I was actually really pleased about this because I didn't do any technical setup and the lights were just flashing all the time. Yeah. But here's the thing. You see how long I'm doing the 7 rings there? The time that you do a trick...
People are really going crazy.
Yeah, of course, it was a good show, and I was the last person in a really good show. Like, I mean, I was riding the wave of the guy who, like, the guy before me was doing like jumping over people with BMX bikes or whatever.
Oh wow!
Like, oh no, I don't. It wasn't on the video. Yeah. But yeah, this kind of reaction, like you say, how long do I hold it this time? Probably a bit less time. I'm not sure here, but yeah, it can.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a bit more playful.
Yeah.
But yeah, holding it that long, pretty much I talked about this last time with Willie Colombi. All he had to do was hold a pose for a long time, and people would give him the standing ovation. I don't get a standing ovation here, unfortunately. Oh no, I do. Yeah. Look there. There we go. There's a guy over here.
Nice.
There's a one.
No, but also, I think when you're standing there holding out the rings, this is still part of the routine.
Yes.
This is you holding the tension.
Yeah, and Anthony Gatto, when he would finish up, he would take the applause, like here at the end of his ring section, club section, he goes boom. Now, he doesn't hold it for that long, but he takes the applause for a long time. Just look at this. Look at this. How long he's taking. Again, we're going back to last month's workshop where I was learning from this. But all of this section here is build up to his final trick. Like, and this is build up. And the same before about the length of time you do something. One more. The length of time you do something is one way to get more applause, because you can do something, maybe I'll give it a better example, but look at this. This is all build up. Like the way that I do it as a stupid character, because my character on the stage is not, I'm not saying I'm the best juggler in the world, but Anthony Gatto is. So he can't do a build up like I do a build up. Yeah. But I'm going to show you another video, but this is all build up to the trick. Now he does 7 clubs a little bit longer than I do 7 rings. He goes for that second applause point, whereas with my rings, I'm only going for the first one. So he juggles. Oh no, this is still a build up.
Preparation.
He does a setup throw. But the way that Anthony Gatto does it, he does this throw and he keeps it going longer. So people start clapping, and as soon as people start clapping, oh no, people don't start clapping. But yeah, so he's going for that first applause point. Now, let me actually show you. Well, kind of the second. If you just do something and people start clapping after you finish it, that's like the flash applause point. Yeah. Then you get the numbers applause point, which is you do something long enough and people go, oh, this is actually really difficult, which is, I would kind of cheat on mine because I'm telling people when to start applauding. Yeah. But check out Luke Wilson. He then does the endurance. Let's show the endurance applause point. This is Luke Wilson performing not a numbers trick. It's not, but it is kind of a finale trick. And yeah, let me turn the sound up here a bit so you can. There's actually 3 different applause points. He gets his like flash one where people go, oh, it's difficult. Then he gets the, oh, this is actually difficult. And then he goes long enough that he gets the 3rd applause point, which is like he's done this so long that it's now even more difficult. And that's that like 3rd part there. So oh, I'm not sure if people can hear it. So yeah, look, he does this trick. Listen. So he does this trick and he gets an applause. There's a few people applauding now. And then there's another wave of applause. A few people going for it. But look at how long he does this one trick. He makes it look hard. He does a little fumble. You see, he did all of that, and there's kind of like 3 different lengths that you can do a trick. Wow, this is impressive. You can do it quick enough that people will applaud when you stop. You can do it the right amount of time. I can't just get distracted by watching Luke Wilson juggle now. You can do it longer that people clap when you finished it. They can clap when they recognize that it's difficult, and then you stop. You should stop straight away. Yeah. If you're gonna go longer than that, you've got to go long enough that they think that they've got to give you the endurance clap. Yeah. But if you go longer than the numbers clap, you've got to stop then. Does that make sense?
You have to kind of know what kind of clap you're after.
Yes, if you're going for an endurance clap, it has to be as long as what Luke Wilson just did there. Yes. If you're going for a flash track, it doesn't matter how long the trick is, but you've got to know that you're going to get the applause after you're finished. Whereas if you're going for the kind of thing that I'm doing here with this 7 rings, I know that I'm going to ride that wave, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I'm going for, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, like a bit more than a flash. And then I'm riding that wave up there.
Oh, so you're finishing on the music.
Yeah, I'm finishing on the music. It's very clear, but like I don't want it to, oh, what's that button? I don't want it to be too long, but I want to get there. Let me have a look at here. The guy called, oh, I just did his name there. Ramiro Vergas. Okay, let's see his build up to the finale. If you think the build up to mine is stupid, this is a video. Again, I found this after I'd already done this. So he did the 6. Look at how badly he drops those. All right. So he does this build up here.
Tragic.
It's tragic. The lighting changes. The music cuts out. It's as choreographed as what I do with my 7 rings. Yes. The music. I mean, he's got an orchestra that he's performing with there as well. The band leader's like, okay, do it again. He's like, no, I can't do it, I can't do it. But this is all build-up, and you see he's got loads and loads of swing dancers, because he's performing juggling at a swing dance event, I guess.
Yeah.
But look at this, he's
also building himself up now.
He has to build himself up, but people are already into it because he's just done a really fun routine. It's like a full club juggling routine where he does dancing as well. But look at this, how much of a build-up does he do here? And is there... This is for 6 clubs. He's going to do like 7 catches of 6 clubs or something like this. But he's just doing some
He's kind of showing off his body movement.
Yes, because he's performing for dancers. They all know. They can all appreciate this.
Well, he's really taking.
He's like it's a minute.
He's really like.
This is the build-up. This is the build-up to his finale trick. So many jugglers don't understand that you can do this to a build-up to a technical juggling finale. And then he's like, all right, and then he gets down to business. Look, he gets an applause. He gets a huge round of applause for the build-up to his finale, and that's what I'm going for. Of course, again, I came up with that before I saw him do this, but we're working from the same playbook here of getting an applause and laughs as the build-up to the juggling finale. He's shaking his hands. Look, and he does the crossing. No, he doesn't do the crossing. Everyone knows the joke. He's not going to do the full joke. And what does he do? Yeah, like 6 catches of 6 clubs, and he catches them all the way around. But he knows he can do it. Beforehand, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for what does he go?" He's like, he does run, and he doesn't run. He just gets it out of the way, and he does 6 clubs.
The lesson we learn here is that if you have a routine and you're building up to the end of it, just have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun with building the tension towards your last trick.
As long as you can definitely do the trick. If you can't do the trick, there's only so many build-ups. I have it in my show that I do the build-up to the trick, and if I mess it up, I just stop the music again and can just loop onto it. But yeah, there have been times where it's taken me like 4 attempts. I have more fun things to do.
Yes.
Make sure that you have more fun build-ups to do.
Always have plans.
Yeah, I'm good because I can actually talk to the audience in my cruise ship show because I have a microphone.
Yeah.
Also, it's a trick I can do really easily. 7 rings isn't difficult for me.
Yeah.
When I want to do it, I just do the trick. Same with a 6 club flash from, what's his name? Ramiro Vergas. Yeah. And Anthony Gatto and Luke Wilson. We can all do these tricks at that high level. Yeah. So I think that's it. We've got to the end. That's about an hour.
One more thing I'd like to
bit more than an hour, but what's up?
Point out in your routine what I really like is that you do repetitions of certain things.
Yeah.
And I think this is always something I like as a non-juggler. I often miss stuff because somebody does something, and for me it's even like I can't even grasp it. I know I saw something amazing. Yeah. But I kind of want to see it again because I didn't really get it, and so I really like the just a few repetitions, like 1, 2 or 3 of them, will help the audience to appreciate even more what you're doing because they can actually then see what it's going on. Yeah,
not so specific to this one routine, but specific to the juggling that I work on when I'm performing for jugglers. I always think in terms of building blocks, and I want people to, when they look at it, they're looking at a wall. Like with big blocks, and sometimes there's these big blocks which draw your eye, and sometimes there's like smaller blocks and there's like concrete in between them. And I like I like presenting like, here is a brick, you know what the brick is, you know what shape a brick is, it's not going to be confusing, and then the next thing is a brick, next thing is a brick, and then you can have some like patterns or whatever like that. But if you just have a few bricks on a wall, I mean, you see, I'm not even quite sure what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean about a wall where there's some plaster knocked off and you can see the bricks. Yeah. That's what I'm going for. I want people to be able to recognize the structure of what I'm doing. I want people to be able to recognize the blocks that are there, and that they can go.
The blocks from which you're building the routine.
Yes, and I want them to be recognizable. So in a brick wall, there's a pattern. In a stone wall, there isn't always a pattern. Like if it's just stuff put together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Somebody's asking where all the drops, why they're all deliberate in this video.
In this one video, yes, there is one drop, and it's with the 7 rings, and I make the drop as dramatic as possible here. So here I just punch the ring out of my head. And I drop on purpose there. In all of these versions, I'm doing a drop on purpose at this point, if you know what I mean, at this point of the routine. And you can see that this is only like 5 minutes into the video.
You're not even, you're kind of like discarding the rings.
Do I discard the ring? I don't see how long do I go here? No, in that case, actually, I just chuck them up because I was actually a bit behind on the music in that one, and I needed to get to the drop before the music finishes. Because I don't want to also get to the end. I don't want to drop as the music finishes, because then it looks under control. If I drop and then go like this, it looks controlled. Yeah, people ask me in my show, they say, were all the drops intentional? And if I'm talking on stage with a microphone, the drops are choreographed. So when I'm doing the 5-ball routine where someone's thrown me something, I'm not going to catch it on the first attempt. I'm not going to, if it's going to hit me in the face, I'm going to make that on purpose. If I can't grab the ball and do something with it, it's a comedy routine. I need to do that. If I'm doing a routine where I'm doing knife juggling, it's one of those things that I want to, like, I want the luxury of being able to, while talking, try a trick a second time. So if I mess up, it doesn't matter. It's a chance for me to do something fun or pick up in a fun way. If there's music playing and I drop and I don't make any comment about it or don't do anything, I just reach down, scoop the object off the floor and keep juggling again, that was unintentional. And you can tell it's unintentional because there's nothing planned about it. There's no funny lines, nothing at all. I just move on. I think, yeah, in one of these other videos, I think, yeah, in this one I drop a few times. I can't remember where. Do I drop? I think in the 4-ring section, I think I drop at one point. Do I? Maybe, I'm not sure. No, maybe it was in the 5-ring section. I don't even remember. Oh yeah, there you go. So in the 5-ring section, I sometimes drop on this. Yeah, it was just with the ring color changing. And it's funny, as I pick up, I made sure all the rings are the right way around in my hand just so I could actually do the trick again from scratch. If I drop and some of the rings are the wrong way around, I always wanted to make sure that they're all sorted out before.
So you know how you continue.
In the Russia video, when I tried doing the ring pancakes, I don't bother doing it here because I was a bit behind on the music. But yeah, I messed up and I would much rather not drop and just stop. But here, look at this. And I do it again and I miss it. And the third time, and then I'm just like, fuck it. That gets a laugh. That moment gets a laugh where I tried the trick a few times.
Because people can see what you're trying.
But more important is for me to get to the 7 rings and finish. And I'm really, really racing ahead because I want to be able to stop the music. Like really, I want to be able to stop the music when I do this. So here, like at that point, like I don't even pretend at this point that
to go for the rings.
Like yeah, I just tap them out of my hands. It's not even so yeah. Any professional juggling since lockdown? No, not at all. Anyway, I think that's it. We can chat a bit more, but I want to wrap up because that's the end of my routine. Hopefully people have learned a bit from this. It's a fun like podcast length juggling workshop. A little bit more than an hour, but I think we got a lot of good stuff.
I think what people see very much is though that you're building your routine from your building blocks.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what you're doing. Things are intentional.
Yeah. Everything is intentional.
You're using tension, you're using build-up like music does it.
Yeah.
So you're building up to something, and that means that you also can expand and retract the way that you need it. And it's all things to think about in juggling routines.
Yeah. It's good. All right then. I was going to finish up where I could say goodbye, and then we can take the applause, and I can do. All right, let's do this. So here we go. Thanks a lot. Oh no, I dropped again in this one. Oh, I picked the wrong one.
Let's pick the wrong one.
No, this is fine. But we can do this. I'll just take this and we can say thank you. Thank you for live streaming. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Thushbar5, and other people, Mark and Leroy and Juliana, other people who've been asking questions in the chat. Here we go. So I can turn this up a bit now, and I can say a big thank you to everyone watching. My name's Luke Burridge. Joining me is Juliana, and thank you for watching the workshop, and good evening.
Okay, gonna get my